Last night, the San Antonio Spurs defeated the Oklahoma City Thunder 111 to 109. And this game was probably the best win of the season for the Spurs. I say this as a Spurs fan. I was thrilled to get the win. It was an awesome win. Definitely have to say it was. Now, I would say I wasn't a fan of what Mitch Johnson, the coach of the Spurs, did at the beginning of the game by not playing Victor in the first quarter. I thought that was very stupid, and it allowed OKC to just jump out from the start because you could tell the Spurs were kind of shaky at the beginning playing OKC, that there was some nervousness, there was some jitters, and it really showed. Granted, ultimately that strategy worked for Mitch, but I still thought it was stupid that it could have backfired. He took a big risk by not playing Victor that whole entire first quarter. Luckily for him, it worked out. I thought it was a risk because OKC is a great team. They're defending champs. When they see blood in the water, they go for it, and they jumped on it from the beginning that Victor was not playing in the first quarter. And usually, when they build a double-digit lead, it's hard to come back from it. But the Spurs weathered the storm. They were, like I said, shaky, but once Victor entered the game in the second quarter, they went on this big run. I think he only played I think 3 minutes or so in like the second quarter. It was kind of like insane when you think about it. But during that 3 minutes, you could feel his impact. His defense immediately showed up. You could see that OKC started to feel intimidated. Their confidence was starting to go away, and they were starting to struggle getting shots simply because Victor was in the paint to stop anything. And then you pair him up with guys like Castle and other perimeter defenders, whether it's Fox, Castle, and Harper. It makes it harder for them to get shots off in the perimeter and then to drive because Victor's right there. So it just makes the Spurs that much better. It's like now you have to work really hard to get easy buckets, I would say. So that was big. He comes in there, they make a run, and then he exits out in the second quarter, and the OKC made another run. But Spurs, then again, were able to weather the storm by the end of that quarter, and they cut the lead down to 3 once OKC had built another double-digit lead. De'Aaron Fox hit some shots during that time frame to bring them back in. I think he had a layup, a three-point shot, and that immediately sliced the lead to like 9 points. And the Spurs just never looked back when it came to coming back into the game. Fox is huge in these moments. He's instant offense. He can generate easy buckets. I feel like he has like a good pulse when the team is struggling and knows when to assert himself. So I would say that was great. I felt like earlier in the game, the Spurs were getting good shots. You could say it was a combination of OKC's defense they were missing, but I also felt they had some open shots and they just couldn't convert on those. So that was like their handicap at the beginning. Like at the beginning of the game, they shot like 0 for 9 from 3, I believe. And then they finished the game 13 of 42. So that means as the game progressed, they shot something like 10 of 23 from 3, which is pretty good. That their shooting started to come back after they started off very poorly. Now, what I found interesting in this game was how great Victor's defense was, but also the impact he has against OKC while playing defense. So there were a few things. Jalen Williams really struggled having to deal with Victor in the paint, that he shot poorly in this game, 5 of 16. He wasn't a factor really. And then you see Chet Holmgren. He played really poorly in this game. I know people say he's 17 points, but he got a lot of free throws. He only shot 3 of 8. And I feel that was like the Victor effect on him, that he was completely intimidated by Victor. There was one sequence where Victor just swatted him and he looked just like he had like given up, like his soul was just like snatched from him. And I would say SGA had a good game, 12 of 23. But one thing I thought the Spurs were good at in this game were they were good at taking away his mid-range shot. So they made it much harder for him to get to the spots he wanted on the court. And then you had Victor there. So I think that was huge, that even though SGA had a really good game, they stopped him from having a great game simply because they were able to take away his his mid range. So that was really big. Now, I will say that OKC, they get away with a lot of fucking hacking. That's the thing that really annoys me about them. Like they're a great defensive team. I'll give them credit. They have great quick hands for a lot of their defenders, but they get away with a lot of shit too. It's just it's absurd. Like especially Caruso with his hacking. Like he hacks a bunch of times. There are other guys like Dort. They also hack. I remember I forgot who did this on Castle, but there was one play towards the end of the game in the final few minutes. Castle had a dunk and he got hacked. It was clearly a hack and they didn't call the foul. So that stuff like that makes OKC very hard to deal with because the refs really give them the benefit of the doubt when it comes to getting away with hacking. They swallow it. Like they don't really call it. Like there's some really hard hacks that they do. I think that really helps them tremendously because I feel a lot of OKC's offense is dependent on their defense. And their defense really triggers their offense, allows them to get easy transition points and whatnot. But part of it is just hacking a lot. So that to me was something that stood out. But the Spurs also were able to match their defense with great defense. So it kind of evened out and it made the game really muddy. A game that OKC couldn't just like dominate, which I think it favored the Spurs in the final few minutes because having Victor on the court, I think will always give the Spurs an advantage against just about any team in the league in the final few minutes of the game. And I say that just simply because of his defense. Like his defense deters you from getting easy buckets in the paint. You had to take difficult shots, and that can result in crucial stops. And I think it did in this game. So I would say that. And it may not show, but I thought Cornette had some good defensive moments in this game. There was this one play where he stopped a easy fast break that seemed like it was going to be a dunk, and he was able to break it up. Castle was great when it came to scoring, 9 of 16. He was able to drive. He was very effective getting the paint and scoring. He had some amazing acrobatic plays. He had an awesome 360 layup. That was just so cool to see. The only thing negative I can say about him was his turnovers are bad. He had a ton of turnovers. Also, Victor, I would say the same. Offensively, he was good, but the turnovers really was bad. Like OKC was stripping a bunch of times. Granted, a few of them were hacks, but he got stripped a lot of times when he tried to drive. So that's something he will have to get better when he plays OKC. But I'm fair enough to understand this was his first game back, so he was rusty. But something that he needs to be aware of when he plays OKC, that they're a great defensive team with a bunch of perimeter players. So when you drive, they can easily strip you. You always got to be careful when driving the paint because you're liable to get stripped. I've seen quite a few times when 3 or 4 guys collapsed on Victor when he drove in the paint and they were able to get the strip. So I think that's something he has to be aware of. Dylan Harper had a terrible game, 3 of 13. OKC's defense did get to him. He had 3 turnovers. This is probably one of his worst games I've seen of him. I know he had one terrible game a few games ago, but that's to be expected. He's a rookie, so you just hope he learns from it. But he had some good moments too in this game when he hit some crucial layups, which shows to me that he does have toughness because he had a terrible game, but he was still able to make some good plays down the stretch when he was playing despite all of that. So give him props for that. Don't really have anything else to say about this, but I think the Spurs may have exposed some things about OKC that can be used against them by the rest of the league, but I don't think most teams would be able to implement those things because, Victor is like the eraser on defense that he was able to take, I think, Chet out of his game and also make it hard for Jalen Williams to get easy points to the paint, which limited him, and he took away SGA's mid-range. And then you combine it with the Spurs' athletic perimeter players like Castle, Harper, Vassell, Fox, and even a guy like Julian Shippenny and Keldon Johnson. Like, you have a bunch of perimeter guys that can smother you. I think that all compounds together. So if you're a team that has a good rim protector and you have athletic perimeter players, there are some schemes you can pull against the Thunder. So that's one thing I think other teams will look into. I think you definitely need a strong rim protector when you're playing the Thunder, combined with great perimeter defenders who are very athletic. And it definitely helps if they could score too. So you have two-way. But I think that's the best way to deal with the Thunder. But I don't have anything else to say. I was very happy with this win.